Sawadee-ka. Thank you guys so much for tuning in as always. Kristen DeBrucker here. Just a couple of quick things. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. That's the first thing. And then make sure that you like and share the video. That really helps me out. And then if you'd like to support the channel, please consider becoming a patron on Patreon. It really helps me out while I'm not teaching full time. So we're going to go ahead and get right into it today. So we're going to kind of warm up with some footwork and some different perspectives on different ways to shadow box the kick. And then we're going to get right into 4 counts and how we utilize these kind of offensively to counter hands. So how to use kicks essentially to counter hands today. So let's go ahead and get started. So just a quick reminder, let's talk about our stance. I'm really excited. I got my hair cut this week and I'm wearing my She-Hulk tights. So I'm feeling kind of like a badass today. So feet together, 1, 2, 3 and a half. Okay, when we're in our stance, especially in Thai, it's very important that you have balance. That's the biggest thing that I noticed when I was in Thailand, is that balance is the big thing that changes between training Thai boxing in the West and in Thailand. So I always put my feet on train tracks. So you should be able to dollar bill underneath your heels anytime. We're looking for like 60-40, a little lighter on this leg, elbows in, hands at eyebrow level. So we're going to just work on a step and slide. So we're going to step and slide, and step and slide. Now we're going to do it back. Step and slide, step and slide, step and slide. It's a very small movement, okay? Now we're gonna move side to side. 1, 2, 3, and then the other direction. 1, 2, 3. Really simple, really straightforward. So now we're just gonna add a foot jab to this to kind of warm up our hip flexors a little bit. And we're gonna move forward, side, and then back. So forward, okay? We're gonna go ahead and foot jab. We're gonna bring our knee up as high as we can, pushing our foot in, foot jab, then come back. Now we're gonna move to the side, foot jab, and then come back. Okay? Now we're going to go move backwards, foot jab, and then come back. Forward, foot jab, come back. Notice when I come back, I'm always bringing my knee back in and then coming back to my stance. Side, foot jab, come back, foot jab, okay, come back, foot jab, and then come back. Make sure you're not dropping your hands as you foot jab. It's not cheerleading. Kind of keeping your hands up the whole time. Okay, from the sides, everyone can see. Coming back to our stance. So that's what we're looking for there. We're kind of warming up our hips a little bit. So now we are going to go ahead and turn the step and slide into a shuffle, forward, backwards, and we're going to switch up with our rear leg. So it's going to be shuffle, 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 shuffle. So I'm not jumping up, I'm kind of jumping side to side, really pushing off of our feet. And then side, side. Feeling pretty comfortable with that. So now what we're going to do, we're going to add the foot jab in the 4 direction. We're going to go forward, side, and then back. Okay? So forward, side, side, back. Forward, side, side, and back. Okay, turn to the side so everyone can see. Forward, side, side, and back. Okay. So our hip flexors should be a little bit warm now. So we're going to go ahead and stretch a little bit. First stretch we're going to do is you just stretch our calves. We use them a lot more time. So we're going to find like a wall, something that you can be pretty straight on. So you can kind of get some good flexion here. We're just going to stretch through our calf a little bit. And another side. Okay, now we're gonna stretch kind of through our hip flexor here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna kind of tuck our tail, making sure we're squeezing our glute, reach our hand up, lean back, and then over. So stretch all through that side and that hip flexor. Switch. Kind of curl, kind of tuck my tailbone, squeeze my glute, reach up, lean back, and then over. Make sure we get a good deep stretch here. Okay, awesome. So last week we worked on the 4 counts. So we're going to review those real quick, and then I'm going to show how I like to utilize these 4 counts by using kicks to essentially counter hands. So our first 4 count was our lead to rear. Now a couple quick things before we continue. When you're doing, every time you throw a kick, make sure you're shielding out of it, because the person is, as we found out last week, the person is going to hit us back. So we want to make sure we have a good shield. The other thing is you have 2 major ways to shadow box a kick. You can kick and not spin through, or you can kick and spin through. Either is fine. It really depends on what you're trying to accomplish. I recommend don't spin through on the first kick of the 4 count and then spin through on the second one. Okay, that's what I like to recommend, so that way you can use the control. So if you want to kick and not spin through, make sure after you kick, you turn your knee up. So the knee is horizontal and then turn your knee back up. This also teaches you how to bleed power off of a kick when you're sparring, because you don't want to like just rip someone's leg off in training. It's not very polite. So I want to step, kick, then come out of it. It's very, very important. Okay? So this is what we're looking for. We're going to get in our stance, feet together. 1, 2, 3 and a half. Now we have first 4 count, just a review from last week. It's going to be our lead to rear 4 count. Now remember, the hook hand can be an uppercut, a shovel hook, a high hook, or an overhand. Any of those are good options. So pick which one feels good for you. Okay, so we're going to do lead kick, cross, hook, variation, whatever you choose, and then right kick. When we're done, shield, and then hold that for a beat to make sure it's really strong. Okay, from the side so we can see, and then do whatever feels good for you, because we're going to go through all 3. Now remember, we're still kind of moving and warming up. It's very important that you take your time, focus on the form, and really relax your shoulders. Focus on rotation. Because small mistakes become big mistakes when you start adding resistance. And if you have a mirror to look at yourself while you're shadowboxing, that will also really, really help. So that was our lead to rear. Our next one is going to be the opposite, which is our rear to lead. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with our rear kick. Come back. We can do the hook, the overhand, the shovel hook, or the uppercut. It's really your preference. Cross, and then lead kick. And then shield out of it. Okay, so one more time. Rear, come back, hook, cross, and then shield. From the side, rear, hook, cross. Okay. I did 2 rears, so that's okay. We'll do it again. Rear, hook, cross, lead. Other side, rear, now, couple of quick things. Remember we talked about last time. We're doing this cut step. Subtle. No jump, and then kick. It has to be a very, very subtle movement. This is very, very important. Now, you can take those 2 4 counts, and the only thing you're going to change is the kick. So for instead of doing lead to rear, we're going to do lead to lead. So lead kick, and then finish with another lead kick. And this is great if you want to mess somebody up. You've done the same thing a few times, and then you just, the last second, change your mind. Okay, next one was our rear to rear, which I already did a little bit of it. So rear kick, hook, cross, rear kick again, from the side, rear, hook, cross, rear, hook. So those are a review of kind of all of our 4 major 4 counts, just to like make sure we have a good base. Now let's talk about how do we use these 4 counts. So last week we talked about shielding and then coming back to the 4 count. Today we're going to talk about my favorite way to use the 4 count, which is using kicks to counter hands. It's one of my favorite things to do, and I think it shows kind of how Thai boxing deals with boxing. So I'm going to tell a story, not to like call anyone out, but back when I was training, there's always this thing where like leg kicks don't win fights. And they don't. One off. The reason why leg kicks work is because you keep going back to them over and over and over again. So you almost like overwhelming force of the leg kicks. In MMA today, a great person who utilizes leg kicks and calf kicks would be someone like Justin Gagey. But when I was coming up through the ranks, I had the pleasure of meeting Uriah Faber for the first time when he was still WC champion before he fought Jose Aldo. I noticed that his stance was like pretty deep. And my brother and I asked him, he's like, what do you do about leg kicks? And he's like, I don't really worry about leg kicks. Kid you not, like a month later, he fought Jose Aldo. And the reason why Jose Aldo was so effective with the leg kick is not because he went to it once. It's that he kept going back to it over and over and over again. And all the blood starts to rush to your legs, which makes your legs heavy, and then your hands start to drop. So that's why it's so effective. So this is a great way to counterfight and slow somebody down. So the first one we're going to deal with is the jab. So this is called attack by drawing. If I'm overly aggressive and coming forward the whole time, I'm not getting my opponent to come to me. So I'm going to be here, just outside of range. This is very, very important. So when I'm just outside of range here, if the person wants to come towards me, I still take the center of the ring. I'm not running away. I want to be just outside of range. So when the person comes forward, I'm going to catch the jab. Catch or parry the jab. Typically, you're going to see a lot more catching in Thai than parrying. I do both. The reason why you see more catching in Thai is because they're going to loop around and try to grab your neck. So you can do either. I personally like to parry, but you can also catch. So catching is just like you're catching a focus net. So catch. Parry is a little bit very almost like you're slapping. So I'm going to shuffle back ever so slightly and then catch for the jab. Because if the person is being aggressive with the jab, they have to step on this lead leg, which means this leg is heavy. That is when I'm going to kick. And what I'm looking for is I'm looking for this kick to come in pretty horizontal. Horizontal, hitting from like here to here, around, because I want to hit like behind here where the knee is, where there's not as much muscle, kind of getting to that sciatic. If I want to drop it on top of the quad, I'm probably going to hit a little higher up through my knee, bring it up and then down, kind of really chop at the leg. But this is more long range. And what I like to do is that it's going to be kind of a half beat, not a whole beat. So it's here, I'm going to catch, and then immediately throw my right round kick or rear round kick. So catch. And it's very subtle because I want the person to over-exaggerate and really step in. So once I get comfortable with that, pop, pop. Pop, pop. And don't worry about the kick being fancy right now because obviously it's hard to do without a target. But this is something, if you time it well, it's very hard to counter. So pop, pop. Pop, pop. So pop, pop. It's not catch, then kick. They've already countered at that point. So I usually don't lead with kicks when I do Thai. What I like to do is get the person to overcommit and come forward to me and then counter them as they come in, which is a very kind of Thai perspective, making sure we have a good guard here. So they step into jab, pop, 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 pop. And this is also leg kicks like this, when someone's doing, is really good when people are doing like an unorthodox style, a little more of a sideways stance, more like a karate style.
because I came from a Taekwondo background, I'm very familiar with it. This leg kicks are also really effective for this. All of this, it's very hard to shield. So this is definitely, I would say, a game changer. Also, if you want to slow down someone who moves around a lot, is very evasive. If you can time being just outside of range and time the moment they come in, even a little bit, and kick the leg, it kind of starts to slow them down a little bit, kind of negate a little bit of the footwork. So catch, leg kick. Catch, leg kick. Okay. Now, once you get comfortable with that, then you're going to follow up with a 4 count. Now, the 4 count can be the rear to lead or the rear to rear. It doesn't matter. The big thing is that you're coming back. So the person tried to hit you. If you get this kick to land like solid, so the idea on entries is we always enter on pain. If this lands solid, like you see the leg buckle, then you need to follow up. But if you're just kind of like picking at the leg a little bit, maybe you don't follow up right away. Maybe because they adjust right away. But if you see that leg buckle, that's your time to come forward and continue the combo. Okay? So that's kind of how I look at it, is I catch, I kick the leg, it buckles, then I come forward to finish the rest of the combo. So we always enter on pain. It's very important. So catch, and then come back. So kind of like we were doing with the shield, but now we're using the 4 count a little more offensively, and using our kick to counter hands. This is probably one of my favorite things to do in sparring for me, especially when I first started sparring a lot. I didn't have a lot of female training partners. I always sparred bigger guys, and I didn't have the best hands when I started, but I always had pretty good kicks. I kicked pretty hard. So this is very effective for me when I'm trying to negate kind of the height of a taller guy as well. A taller, big guy that I'm worried about them hitting me with their hands. To kind of slow them down a little bit. Make them basically pay for trying to come in on me every single time. If I can do that, that makes it a little bit easier for me, so I can start seeing their timing, seeing when they overextend themselves. And then when I see that leg start to buckle a little bit, then I can have the confidence to come forward without, trading with a bigger, stronger opponent. So I catch, kick, come back, and then follow up. Now, that's for the jab. The second thing is going to be the cross. Now, the cross is going to be a little different. So, typically speaking, if someone's throwing a jab cross, the jab is just kind of arranged management tool, and the cross is the power hand. It is hard to catch and parry crosses. So what I like to do instead is I like to kind of take my head off center line and kind of parry and shoulder roll. So what I'm going to do is this inside leg kick is not going to be hard. This is like noise. So this is the little shot to the big shot. The big shot is actually the cross. So what I'm going to do is the person throws the jab cross, I deal with the jab, however I like to deal with the jab. I'm going to parry and I shoulder roll. I'm shoulder rolling here as the shoulder comes to my jaw, or as I parry, whatever works better for you. I'm pretty long, so shoulder roll works pretty well for me. I shoulder roll inside leg, then I plant hard. There's my power shot, which is the cross. So little shot, big shot. Okay? So I deal with the jab. I shoulder roll the cross. Come back, there's the power shot. Okay? So the noise is just to be like, oh, disruption. Because when you start to disrupt people or jam people up, they're not thinking about hitting you anymore. Sometimes the best defense is a good offense. So I deal with the jab, shoulder roll the cross, power shot, there is the cross, there's my hook, there's my second power shot. Now mind you, I will follow up if this cross lands hard. If this is my power shot and this lands like pretty clean, that's my cue to keep coming forward. Because sometimes it's not always the correct time to come forward. We don't want to force the issue. Now, there are fighters that like to force the issue. Because I typically always spar bigger, stronger, more athletic opponents, I don't want to force it. I have to be patient and wait for the correct time to come forward. One of my favorite examples of this was in the last fight with Tony Ferguson and Justin Gaethje, who, he was coming forward and he was putting so much power in every single hand. And then his cornerman said, take about 10% off. So it's not about coming forward with tons and tons of power all the time. It's about the correct time. So if you land good, clean shots, that starts to wear on your opponent better than you just trying to come forward the whole time trying to finish them. So I'm going to counter, deal with jab, shoulder roll the cross, power hand. So there's my power cross. Okay, that's what we're trying to time. So it's pop, pop, pop. So little shot, plant hard, there's the cross. If it lands hard, we follow up. And that's how you use your 4 counts to counter the jab and the cross. Okay? So the first one we did was we catch the jab and then leg kick, following up with our 4 count, whichever 4 count we'd like to follow up. Second one is we deal with the jab, shoulder roll the cross, hook, and then follow with a 4 count. So the 4 counts, even though they seem boring, they are the cornerstone of Thai boxing. And if you get really good at them, then you can utilize them in a lot of different components and ways in your fighting, which is really useful. So shadow box these, and then think, when you're shadow boxing, how am I going to follow up this? Am I going to shield and come back with a 4 count? Am I going to scoop a foot jab and come back with a 4 count? Am I going to deal with some hands and come back with a 4 count? Like, come up with different ways on how you utilize simple things. Because that's mostly fighting. Simple things done well. Or as I like to say, advanced basics. So this would be my opportunity to start taking questions about 4 counts or strategy or tactics. If there are no questions, then I would just like to say, just quick reminder, please subscribe, like, and share the video. I really appreciate it if you do. And if you want to help support the channel, please consider becoming a patron on Patreon. That really helps me out a lot. I am also available for private lessons on Zoom if that is something that you're interested in. So thank you guys so much. Okay? Kom Kum Ka.